There is a particular kind of anger that does not announce itself with noise. It does not arrive with raised voices or public declarations. It arrives in silence, in carefully arranged schedules, in itineraries built around its deliberate absence. And when King Charles III touched down in Washington, D.C., in early 226, that silence spoke louder than anything his son Harry had said in years of interviews, documentaries, and tell-all memoirs. Harry was 40 minutes away. 40 minutes. The kind of distance a father and son could close over a single phone call and a short drive. But Charles did not make that call. His team had constructed an entire state visit itinerary with surgical precision, and at no point in that itinerary did Prince Harry exist. When Harry's representatives reached out through back channels, quietly and without fanfare, hoping for even a brief window of private time, their response came back without conditions, without alternatives, and without warmth. The request was declined. Full stop. What made this moment so devastating was not simply the rejection itself. It was the stage on which it happened. Charles sat with White House officials. He moved through the most politically powerful city on the planet with the full ceremonial weight of the British crown behind him. Every diplomat in every room understood what was being communicated without a single word being spoken about Harry. The message was architectural. Harry holds no standing with this institution. He is a private citizen, and his blood connection to the king means nothing in the currency of power. But to truly understand why Charles drew that line so publicly, and so finally, you have to go back several months earlier, to a night in November 2025, that crystallized everything the palace had been quietly observing for years. Remembrance Sunday is not simply a date on the British calendar. It is the emotional axis around which an entire nation's relationship with sacrifice, grief, and gratitude rotates. The king stands at the cenotaph in London. Silence falls over crowds stretching as far as the eye can see. Wreaths are laid for soldiers who went to war and came home in coffins, or did not come home at all. Their names are read aloud one by one, slowly, so that each name lands, so that no one is forgotten. In 2023 and 2024, Harry and Meghan had honored the occasion in their own way. They visited Camp Pendleton in California. They met with American service members and Gold Star families, people who had lost sons and daughters in combat. They showed up. They paid their respects. Whatever else was being said about them in the press, on those two occasions, they did the right thing. Then came November 2025, and Harry chose differently. The night before Remembrance Sunday, Harry and Meghan attended Kris Jenner's 75th birthday celebration at Jeff Bezos' Beverly Hills estate. The guest list was a monument to Hollywood celebrity: Adele, Beyoncé, Mariah Carey, Oprah Winfrey, Kim Kardashian, and Mark Zuckerberg among the assembled. Harry arrived wearing a black tuxedo. Pinned to his lapel was a remembrance poppy, that small red flower worn across the United Kingdom in the days leading up to the commemoration, worn to honor the war dead. He wore the poppy. He went to the party anyway. Here is why that matters in ways that go beyond optics. Harry is not a former royal who missed a ceremony he had no personal connection to. He is a combat veteran. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan. He flew Apache helicopters as a co-pilot gunner in Helmand Province, one of the bloodiest and most dangerous combat zones of the entire conflict. He has spoken publicly about the weight of those years, about what he saw, about what those experiences cost him. The soldiers being commemorated at the cenotaph that Sunday included men who had served in that same province, in that same war. Some of them came home in coffins. Their names were being read aloud in London while Harry stood on a dance floor in Beverly Hills with their flower on his chest. When the photographs spread and the backlash erupted, the Sussex team moved quickly into damage control. Reports emerged that Harry and Meghan had pressured Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner to scrub every image of them from social media. The stated justification, carefully fed to sympathetic outlets, was that they wanted to show respect for the fallen by not appearing in celebratory content during a period of mourning. Kim addressed the removals publicly, suggesting people should simply laugh it off sometimes. London did not laugh. Royal commentators were measured but direct. Military voices were considerably sharper. And inside the palace, something irreversible happened. There had been quiet conversations, not publicly confirmed, not leaked to any tabloid, in which certain individuals were carefully working towards some form of reconciliation between Charles and his son. The possibility of Harry spending private time at Sandringham or Balmoral away from cameras and press had apparently been under careful consideration. People were working for it. The Beverly Hills party ended those conversations permanently. The palace had received its final piece of evidence. The crown's most sacred traditions were not something Harry held with genuine reverence. They were tools, picked up when a PR crisis demanded them and put down the moment something more glamorous presented itself. While Charles was maintaining a silence, Meghan was doing the precise opposite. And what she was saying publicly was, by any measure, one of the most audacious things she had said in years. Her Netflix projects were stalled. Her lifestyle brand had launched under the name American Riviera Orchard, only to be forced into a rebrand after trademark disputes stripped that name away. The new name, as ever, carried considerably less aspirational weight. Her cooking series landed with reviews ranging from lukewarm to quietly devastating. The audience that had been riveted by her royal grievances sat down to watch her make jam and felt nothing. The Spotify deal, reportedly worth $20 million, had been terminated in 2023 after producing almost nothing of commercial substance. Spotify executive Bill Simmons did not choose diplomatic language when he addressed it publicly. He said the company felt cheated. Faced with this accumulating wreckage, Meghan offered an explanation. Her projects were not failing because the content was weak, or the market had grown tired of her. According to Meghan, everything was stalled because she respected King Charles III so deeply that she had been deliberately holding back her work to avoid upsetting him. She claimed she knew exactly what Charles did to people who crossed him, and she was terrified of being the next target. To be completely clear about what this argument requires the world to accept, Meghan Markle, the woman who used private family WhatsApp messages and recorded phone calls in a 2022 Netflix documentary without the consent of the royal family members involved, the woman whose husband published intimate details of family arguments and private medical information about living relatives in a 2023 memoir, is now asking the public to believe she has been exercising extraordinary restraint out of deep respect for the institution. The same institution she and Harry spent years systematically dismantling in front of a global audience while collecting payment for doing so. The receipts, as they say, are everywhere. To invoke royal decorum now, specifically now, at the precise moment contracts are being cancelled and Hollywood has quietly rendered its verdict, is not restraint. It is a reframing of failure that does not survive contact with recent history. The 2021 Oprah interview cast shadows that have never fully lifted. Meghan told Oprah that while she was living inside the palace, she had reached a crisis point so severe she went to the institution and asked for help. She described suicidal thoughts, real, constant, and clear. She told Oprah that when she sought help, she was informed that getting that help would not be good for the institution. She sat with Harry and told him she did not want to be alive anymore. The palace issued a counterstatement asserting that considerable resources had been offered and declined. The truth of what happened in those private moments may never be fully resolved in the public record. What is unambiguous is that Meghan has never retracted her account, and the accusation, placed squarely, if without direct naming, on the senior living members of the royal family, traveled around the world within hours and has never stopped traveling. In that same interview, Meghan claims she and Harry had held a private wedding ceremony in their garden 3 days before the public royal wedding. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the man who actually conducted the ceremony, subsequently confirmed publicly that the only legal and valid marriage was the public one on May 19, 2018. There was no private garden ceremony. For a broadcaster whose professional identity is built on truth-telling and whose interview became the vehicle for that specific claim, the fallout was quietly catastrophic. Oprah Winfrey has since moved to a position of complete and permanent distance from the couple. Inside the industry, it is described simply as a do-not-mention arrangement. The most powerful woman in American media walked away without ceremony. That withdrawal is not just significant, it is a verdict. The professional collapse followed in waves. Ari Emanuel, who runs William Morris Endeavor, the most powerful talent agency in the world, signed Meghan in April 2023. Her agents were the same individuals who represented Dwayne Johnson and Serena Williams. This was not merely a business arrangement. It was Meghan planting her flag at the very center of Hollywood power. It lasted less than 2 years before it disintegrated completely. By January 2024, Emanuel had reportedly not sat in the same room as Meghan for months. Reports of a particularly tense meeting surfaced. Meghan had arrived expecting fully formed plans to already be waiting for her, and when they were not, the room experienced the full force of her frustration. Then came Thanksgiving 2025. Meghan demanded that WME staff cancel their Thanksgiving holiday, not postpone it, cancel it, to manage a crisis for her. The agency declined and terminated the relationship. The same woman who had spoken publicly and warmly about Thanksgiving, as a cherished celebration of family and gratitude, had demanded her team surrender that exact day for her professional emergency. Without Emmanuel's protection, every crack in her operation became visible. The dispute with Netflix, which escalated into a public scandal that spread through the industry press, would never have surfaced while he was her agent. His power would have buried it before a single journalist heard a word. Without him, she was exposed. By the spring of 2026, Harry was posting videos of Archie and Lilibet on Instagram, the children he had fought in court to protect from media exposure, the children he had built his entire public identity around shielding from the very mechanisms now being used to keep their family financially viable. Harry speaking before Australian politicians about protecting children from online exploitation while his team uploaded family content to maintain their lifestyle brand was a contradiction so stark that Australian journalists noticed and wrote about it specifically. Harry's speaking fees, once commanding between $300,000 and $400,000 per appearance, had dropped to $50,000 at a corporate event in Australia in 2026. That is an 80% collapse in market value in under 5 years. The Montecito estate costs approximately $1 million annually in mortgage and maintenance alone, before security, staff, or travel enter the calculation. The math does not work. It has not worked for some time. While the collapse continued in California, something quiet was happening in London. The palace had not made any announcement. There was no press conference, no formal declaration. There was simply a young man named James Alexander Philip Theo Mountbatten Windsor, Earl of Wessex, who had been showing up consistently and without drama. James is the son of Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. He is 18 years old. He is the first grandson of Queen Elizabeth II to enter public royal life since Harry himself, a gap of 23 years. When Elizabeth died in 2022 and the nation broke open with grief, James was 14. He stood vigil beside his grandmother's coffin at Westminster Hall in complete silence alongside William, Harry, Peter Phillips, and Zara Tindall. He attended the coronation of King Charles III. He has shown up for state occasions and ceremonial duties without complaint, without conditions, and without a production company documenting the experience.